If you want to cast some of the most mana intensive instant and sorceries in the game, then stick around because we're going to be talking about Witherbloom the Balancer.
Command priority. Make the plays. Be the problem.
If you see any cards in today's episode that you want to pick up for your deck, use the Command Priority TCG Player affiliate code. It's going to be pinned in the comments of this video. You'll also be able to find it in the bio on my link tree. You help support the channel, and it's free.
So Witherbloom the Balancer, 6 in Golgari for an Elder Dragon with Flying and Death Touch. That's a 5/5. And to reduce his casting cost, he has affinity for creatures. And he also gives instant and sorcery spells that we cast have affinity for creatures as well. This is a really cool commander from Secrets of Strixhaven that everybody's talking about, and I also couldn't help but put a list together because this is one that I'm super excited to build and play from this set. So let's get into it. So Witherbloom the Balancer, this is going to be a full deck build. It's a power level 8.5 or a bracket 4, and the way I've designed this is not made for infinites. This thing could go infinite with a crazy amount of cards, but I chose to keep it value based instead of infinite based, but throwing infinites in here is easy as can be. So the basic game plan is going to be mana dorks, Witherbloom the Balancer, and then protection for Witherbloom. That's what we're trying to get together on the board to get the party started. 0 mana drops. We've got a bunch here that aren't really for any other reason other than helping reduce the casting costs. So Ornithopter, 0 drop, Shield Spear, 0 drop, same thing for Phyrexian Walker, 0 drop, and Memnite, 0 drop. 1 mana ramp. You've got our package that is in most green decks: Birds of Paradise, Elvish Mystic, Bendhorn Elves, Llanowar Elves, Elves of Deep Shadow, and then Delighted Halfling, which also will help us protect casting our commander to keep him from being countered. More 1 mana ramp in Boreal Druid, Arbor Elf, Deathrite Shaman, Dark Ritual, and then of course Soul Ring. 2 mana ramp. We have a lot of mana dorks, so Badger Mole Cub is a no-brainer to include here to add an additional green every time we tap one of our elves for mana, or one of our creatures for mana. Tangled Florahedron, Priest of Titania, Fanatic of Ronus, Bloom Tender, and Devoted Druid are all mana dorks. 2 mana ramp continuing on, we've got the usual Nature's Lore, Farseek, and 3 Visits. And then, of course, Talisman of Resilience and Golgari Signet and Arcane Signet. And one I threw here that is ramp in my mind just because of what our commander does is Bitterbloom Bearer. We lose a life and create a 1/1 blue and black fairy creature token with flying on our upkeep, but that is 1 mana off our commander and 1 mana off each instant and sorcery that we cast. 3 and 4 mana ramp, we have Cultivate, Enduring Vitality, which is kind of a redundancy here because most of our smaller mana creatures are mana dorks anyway, but it does let the tokens that we will end up creating also tap for mana. Circle of Dream Druid taps for a green for each creature we control, which is quite relevant. And then Sky Shroud Claim, a 4 mana sorcery to go get 2 forests and put them on the battlefield, notably untapped. In card advantage, we have Balaged Recovery to get something back in our hand from the graveyard, Eternal Witness for the same reason, Black Market Connections. Even if you don't full send, you're getting the treasure token and a card draw, which is quite good. Praetor's Council, a huge sorcery that is hard to cast in most decks, but in here it should be pretty simple to return all cards from our graveyard to our hand. And we have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. So if we do get board wiped, this is something that we could pour all of our resources into and get everything back in our hand and be able to start rebuilding. Then Beast Whisperer, we are casting a lot of creatures, and so we need the extra card draw to keep our hand full. More card advantage in Stinging Study. We get to draw X cards and lose X life, where X is the mana value of a commander you own on the battlefield or in the command zone, so we get to draw a good chunk of cards. Diabolic Revelation is a big spell that we will get to cast for a whole lot cheaper to go and get a ton of specific cards and put them in our hand. Harmonize, which is normally green's main source of ramp in some decks, but not in all. But this is, in this deck, it's a 2-mana ramp usually instead of a 4 to draw 3 cards. And then Collective Unconscious, 4 and 2 green, but we're going to be casting it for 2 to draw a card for each creature we control. Protection, we have Swiftfoot Boots, Lightning Greaves, Mithril Coat, and then Allosaurus Shepherd, which isn't really protection, but it does protect our green spells from being countered. So Swiftfoot Boots gives Hexproof and Haste for an equip cost of 1. Lightning Greaves gives Haste and Shroud with a equip cost of 0. And Mithril Coat is a good way of protecting our commander in a pinch since it has Flash. More protection and interaction. We have Rapid Vigor to regenerate each creature we control for protection against board wipes. Same thing with Heroic Intervention. Revitalizing Respite for protection for our commander. Same thing with Tyvar's Stand. Gives Hexproof and Indestructible to a target creature. And +X/+X. Then Malakir Rebirth. Choose a target creature, you lose 2 life. Until end of turn, that creature gains. When this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Just protection for our commander. And then same thing with Reanimate, kind of, but if we can't protect Witherbloom, we can at least cast Reanimate and get him back on the battlefield. Your interaction, we have Fell the Profane, which is a land on one side, but then a instant to destroy target creature or planeswalker on the front. Assassin's Trophy to destroy target permanent and opponent controls. They get to search for a basic land and put it on the battlefield. Beast Within to destroy a target permanent, and they get a 3/3 green beast creature token. And then a really cool one in here, in Garruk's Wake, which is a huge sorcery, but for us, we're hoping to cast it for 2 black. So destroy all creatures you don't control and all planeswalkers you don't control. On to some of the big spells. So Return of the Wild Speaker is 5, but we'll get to draw cards equal to the greatest power among non-human creatures you control, or non-human creatures you control get +3/+3 until end of turn. Awaken the Woods is a way of adding a ton of bodies to the board and reducing our costs with Witherbloom even further. But it can be pretty big on its own depending on how many creatures we have on the board. Same thing with Army of the Damned. They do come in tapped, but it creates 13 tapped 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, and we can also flash it back for 7 and 3 black, which for us would just be 3 black. Genesis Wave for X and 3 green, which we will hopefully be casting for X being 10 without even having to tap any lands for the X. Reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of permanent cards with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield. Then put all cards revealed this way that weren't put onto the battlefield into your graveyard. Then Damnable Pact. X and 2 black. Target player draws X cards and loses X life. You could use this as a way to take out the last player, really, honestly, because target player draws X cards. So if you've got 20 creatures on the board and 10 mana available, then you could make somebody draw 28 cards and lose 28 life. And that would be a way to end the game pretty quick for a 1v1. Then Beladros Witherbloom, the older counterpart of our commander, 5 and Golgari for an Elder Dragon 4/4 with flying. Beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with when this token dies, you gain 1 life. And you can pay 10 life, untap all lands you control, activate only once each turn. So this is going to put a body on the battlefield each upkeep, which is going to reduce the cost of our commander and all of our instant sorceries. And then being able to pay 10 life and untap all of our lands to put the finishing nail in our opponents is pretty handy. Finally, coming up on the pure win cons. Of course, we have Torment of Hellfire in here and Exsanguinate. So Torment of Hellfire is going to be 2 black and then hopefully a ton into X that we don't have to pay for. And to repeat the following process X times, each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacks a non-land permanent or discards a card, which is a really good way of making everyone choose between their board or their life. Then Exsanguinate, same mana cost. Each opponent loses X life, you gain life equal to the life lost this way. So a good way of either killing the table or, if nothing else, putting us so far ahead on life that we are in a really good spot. Also, we have some that are kind of coupled together we've already seen Awaken the Woods, but then we have Lab Rats here, 1 black with a buyback of 4, and you can put a 1/1 black rat creature token onto the battlefield. So if we have a ton of mana dorks in play, and then we cast Lab Rats for 1 black, then the buyback is then free because it's reduced by our commander. So we can just put this back in our hand, pay a black, cast it again, same thing, and make a ton of rat creature tokens. So in that example, or you use Awaken the Woods where you pay 2 green and have a ton of mana dorks and make a ton of 1/1s, and then use something like Finale to buff everything to oblivion and then swing. You can also, if you already have a bunch of tokens or you have some bigger creatures, Concordant Crossroads is also in here to give everything haste on the same turn that you need it. That way you can get across the battlefield. More win cons. In case we get board wiped, which will probably be people's focus once they lose to this deck a few times. Rise of the Dark Realms is a great way to recover if we do get board wiped, and we can put everybody's stuff from their graveyards under our control onto the battlefield. Crater Hoof is, of course, a mono green staple as a win con to give everything +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures we control. We are wanting to have a ton of creatures on the board in this deck, whether they're small or not. So this would give them that buff that we need, and then accompanied with Concordant Crossroads or Finale to give them all either haste or haste and another buff, and we can be able to take out all of our opponents very quickly. Land count and deck list. This deck has 4 basic swamps and 6 basic forests for a total of 37 lands. If you want to check out the deck list and play test it, save a copy of it for yourself, it's going to be available in my Mox field. You can find that in my link tree in my bio. And also, if you want to pick up any cards that we talked about today for this deck or for another deck, please use my TCG Player affiliate link. It's going to be pinned in the description of this video, in the comments, and you can also find it in my link tree. It would really help out me and the channel, and it's free.